Happy Thursday, love. Sorry for the delay. Um, if this is your first time checking out my Facebook Live, thanks for checking it out. My name is Dani. I'm a licensed psychotherapist and a happiness transformation coach. And I typically work with people who are feeling unhappy, unfulfilled, overwhelmed, stressed out, anxious, depressed. And in case you didn't know, hey AJ, um, there's my brother on here, of course. How you guys? I can actually see it because I figured out I just need to do this from my phone. So tonight's, just a reminder, so September is Suicide Prevention Month. And in case you've been following my content, last week we did a Facebook Live on suicide prevention among teens. Tonight, oh, there we go. There's Jessica. Let's see here. Tonight we are doing Facebook Live on suicide prevention among adults. Now I've got timing Jessica.
Hello.
Executive coach and a brand strategist. So Jessica is going just a little bit about your background. And let me just mention before I forget.
Yeah.
Across each other through the Holistic Chamber of Commerce. She's been to a couple of my events to support it. And when she found out that I was doing some Facebook Live and Instagram Live this month on suicide prevention, she reached out to me. Figured, you know what, let's go ahead and share a little bit about the story.
Yeah. So I reached out to Dani because this is a really important topic to me. And it's one that's just touched my life in a really big way. So 7 years ago, my husband committed suicide. And so at the time, my daughters were 9 and 3. And it was just such an unexpected um, thing. And I mean, it's like the void from that, we still feel it all the time. Um, you heal from it, but it's just like it never goes away. It's like you always wish they were there. It's like birthdays come, special occasions for the girls, milestones, and it's just like it stings every time that it's like he misses those days. Um, but so it's like part of me really wanted to come on and share and just let anyone know who's having depression or having a hard time, especially with the way 2020 has gone for so many people. It's like, just hang in there. It's temporary. Reach out, get help, because it's not as bad as you think. And it's like tomorrow will come, it's going to be better. And you just need the right support around you. So make sure you get that. Um, but I know we're going to talk about a few other pieces, Dani.
Yes. So something that I spoke to Jessica about, I want to bring up some, I hate to call them textbook, but some signs that are typical among people. And some of those signs include withdrawal, being withdrawn, isolated, extreme anxiety or mood changes, anger, hopelessness, unbearable feeling trapped, sleeping too little or too much, talking or posting about wanting to die or making plans. So those are some of the typical signs. Now, the reason why it's such typical here is because a lot of times the signs are not as presentable. And something that I myself have had suicidal thoughts as a teenager and always presented with everything fine is okay. So it's pretty as adults too for us to hear what's really going on. Sometimes we'll kind of present as fine. That was something that I really wanted to talk about and touch on.
Mhm.
So Jessica, if you want to go ahead and share a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so that was definitely something that really, I think that's what made it all so shocking because, I mean, I don't know if there's like a stereotypical like person that commits suicide, but because I learned so much more over the years since. But I mean, he was high achiever. He was an engineer and patent holder. He was a good dad, like so friendly. Helping the neighbors and friends all the time, and just someone that you're just like, you wanted to be friends with him because he was just so upbeat and positive all the time. And so it really took us all by shock when that happened. But that was one thing I would say, like he never really showed like those signs that were sort of those typical signs. I do remember like in the days before, I was starting to get kind of this uneasy feeling like something was just not right. I couldn't pinpoint it, like he just wasn't quite himself. And I went to I called our family therapist to see if I could come in because I was really freaking out about like how I was feeling. And it was almost a point where I felt afraid of him. And he's not something that, never, ever, ever would you be afraid of him. There was no domestic violence or anything like that. So it bothered me a lot that I was feeling that way. And the therapist said, well, you know, he kind of went through like the classic symptoms of like giving things away, saying goodbye to people, talking about wanting to die. And there wasn't. But what he did say, and it's a subtle thing, was, and it wasn't right before, but it was a couple of months before, he was saying, I just don't want to be here anymore. I don't want to do this anymore. And so it's like, I do think the signs were there. It's just that he was so subtle about them. And even after the, um, after he was gone, you know, I was able to piece together that he was telling people goodbye, but he wasn't saying goodbye in like a goodbye sort of way. He had reached out to people, friends or family, people he hadn't seen in a while to kind of reconnect. But it was almost just like a nostalgic, like, oh, I was just thinking about this memory when, you know, something that really good and fun that they had done together. And so it wasn't like a goodbye per se. It was just like a hey, catching up kind of thing. But it was kind of across the board. He did do that to almost everyone that like you know meant a lot to him. So um, and then, you know, I know that one of the other things was like organizing your sort of like things so that they would be orderly when you pass. And that was something that it didn't look like he had done, but he did. Because when I was going through his office, everything I needed was in one pile in one corner. So it was just like they were there, but I didn't see them. And so, you know, when we were talking earlier, um, I feel like he didn't I don't know. I think mental health's getting to a place where we're just now trying to normalize it and to take the stigma away. And this was 7 years ago. And so he would be in his 50s now. So he grew up in an era where this was just like, you just, I don't know if you didn't talk about it, you suppressed it, but at any rate, you just, you were fine. You were fine. You were just going to be okay. You're going to get through it. And so I feel like, you know, we were talking earlier, like, what can you do? Because I wrestled with this so much over the years after he was gone. It's like, what could I have done differently when someone's presenting like, I'm fine, everything's good? What are you talking about? Like, there's nothing wrong with me. How do you really help them to open up and to give them that space to be willing to talk or to be willing to go get help and to let them know it's okay, that there isn't a stigma like you think there's a stigma in your head. So,
Exactly. Yeah, absolutely. That's really a good segue into what I want to talk about next and go over is what to do in a couple different ways. One way of if you're starting to, and Jessica and I talked about this. Previously, I was working in substance abuse treatment centers, and I used to tell the clients in treatment that hey, you got to come talk to me. If on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 meaning I'm going to go get high, you got to come talk to me when you're 5 or 6 because once you're 7, 8, 9, you're already on the way. So something Jessica and I spoke about is that hindsight's 2020, of course, and it's always easier for us to look back and say, well, you know, man, I wish I would have done this and I should have done this differently. So we were talking about the whole point of these things, right, is to spread awareness among people. So
mm-hmm.
if you sense that, you feel this gut feeling, you feel like something's not quite right, or they just keep saying, I'm fine, I'm good, you know, dismissing it or anything like that, really ask, what's really going on? Are you all right? And you can talk to me. No judgment, judgment free zone, just being that space to really be heard, letting them be heard, and really even sometimes getting creative on approaches on how to talk to them or break that ice. Listening, asking questions, really, really listening. Because sometimes when we listen, we have a tendency to listen, but we're listening just to say the next thing. And of course, also too, I wanted to provide the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline. So, in case anyone is watching this video and you've been feeling down or been having some of those ideations, or if you know someone who may be having some challenges, just so you have the information, the phone number is 1-800-273-8255. Helping that person get connected, seeking sort of professional help. Jessica, is there anything that you would also encourage or add, especially now with the experience that you've been through?
Yeah, I mean, I just say like over and over again, like do not feel ashamed because I'll tell you, like everyone who loved my husband, people who worked with him, friends, family, neighbors, anybody, they would have done anything for him in a heartbeat. If he would have said, I'm struggling in this area, they would have. And I just, it's like I think sometimes, like I guess, especially this year, we're all really isolated, and because we have to be, but still reach out. I mean, I had gone through a bit of depression myself with this, and it is something that I didn't really understand. And I'm actually glad I went through it because it's like, it's not really like you're sad per se. It's just like a heaviness that, like, I can't keep going. It's kind of what it feels like. So I would say just making that distinction too and being aware of how you feel. So, like, you don't have to feel like you're in a corner crying somewhere. It's just like it's just hard to get out of bed. Like, it's hard to do like basic daily living sort of things, and just talk to somebody. I mean, a professional friend. Like, nobody's going to judge you. I think people who love you want to see you well. Like, they would rather help you and hold your hand to get well than to have you not be here. So
Right. Absolutely.
yeah.
And anything else, Jessica, as far as with regards to what you do, your line of work, and if
Oh
people are
yeah.
interested in connecting with you further, have any questions?
Yeah, so one thing that I do is I'm a business coach and a brand strategist. On the business coaching side, I do a lot of mindset work, a lot of success blocks, kind of figuring out where are your fears, where are your limiting beliefs, where you feel like you can't quite break through. So I do that for business leaders and teams. And then on the branding side, I help businesses figure out their brand strategy and their marketing to really get to the next level where they want to go.
Awesome. Awesome.
That's it. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Jessica. And I really appreciate
Thank
having
you.
you on and that you reached out to me. And
Oh, thanks for having me.
it's great that you were so ideal for this. If this is your first time checking out my live, again, my name is Dani LaBerry, and this is Jessica West, and I'm a virtual licensed psychotherapist. If anything came up for you, or if you feel that this video may be helpful for someone you know, please, I always encourage people to share the videos. As Jessica said, you can reach out to her, Jessica West. You can contact me. My email is Dani, Dani, at DaniLaberry.com. And one last resource that I wanted to also provide is there's a virtual summit coming up next week. It is from actually, I believe it may have already started. It was the 14th, it started on the 14th and it's until let me see, the 25th. And I will actually be speaking on Wednesday, the 23rd, and it's a virtual summit that is offering services and support, information, and resources for loved ones who have experienced the loss of someone due to a commitment of suicide. So, if you or someone you know has experienced, unfortunately, the grief or the loss, and as Jessica mentioned earlier, it's a void, and sometimes it can be years and still feel like it was recent. So even the loved ones who experience someone who has passed away due to suicide, check out that virtual summit. I'll be posting some information about it coming this week. Thank you again so much for watching. Have a great night and take care of yourselves.